Hello, everybody. Welcome. If you're new here, welcome. This is Two Moons in a Microphone. If you are not, welcome back. I am Tanya Scott Thomas, and I love fantasy, but I keep it real. This is a SyFy Sistas Inc. production, and I am so excited to welcome back my friend, David Mizejewski. He is the director of community content and promotions for WaRP Graphics. They are the producers of ElfQuest, which is why we are here, because we love ElfQuest, and we are here to talk about the new full recolored hardcover original quest Fire and Flight, out in bookstores today. Actually, bookstores yesterday, comic stores today. It is out. Go get it. I have been talking about ElfQuest my entire life, and people have not always been able to get like brand new copies, and they've had to search on eBay or whatever. Go to any bookstore, ask for it by name, pick it up, start reading it. You will love it. David, welcome back to Two Moons in a Microphone. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so psyched to be back. It's like the perfect time for us to get together and totally geek out about ElfQuest. I mean, you know, it's New Comic Day. It's Wednesday, like you said. This new edition of Book 1 of ElfQuest's original quest is out now. You know, and I feel like, well, I know that it's been several years in the works to get to today. And it feels really good to hold this sucker in my hand and actually get to, you know, flip through it. I actually picked up my copy yesterday, but yeah, it's very exciting, and it's a really, really exciting time for ElfQuest, because this is the first time that this story, which is the original story, you know, where it all started, is available in a color edition in the US for like over 20 years. Oh, hi, yes. Wendy.
Hi, Wendy. Yay. Oh, so excited. Yes. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. Yes, it's so exciting. And I mean, as soon as the announcement went out last year that these books were coming out, I can't even tell you how excited I was. I was excited for the world. I was excited for Wendy and Richard, for Dark Horse, for all the fans, and for all the new people that get to discover this, because this needs to be always out on a bookshelf somewhere where somebody can pick it up and discover it and fall in love with the art and the story. And
that was actually a real big driver for bringing these new editions out, you know, because it had been a while since the original quest was out in the world in color. And Wendy and Richard really want to always make sure that there's some version of these stories, especially the original quest, which again is kind of where it all began and where you want to start if you're a new ElfQuest reader. You know, they want to keep that in print in some way, shape, or form, because what they really care most about is sharing the story with the world. And, you know, there's those of us who have been reading ElfQuest for many years and who probably have multiple editions, because there have been many editions over those decades. But the idea of having this fresh, new version of it out currently in bookstores and comic shops, and that it's an opportunity for somebody to walk by and be like, "Ooh, what's that?" You know, like we did all of those years ago, and have that magical moment. Having these books out is what is how you make that happen. And so it's really, really super exciting.
Yeah, it's great. And it looks amazing. I mean,
it really does.
It's like, I mean, just this first, oh God, my camera. Oh my God. Look at that. It's so amazing. I mean, it's like familiar, but updated. It's richer. It's just with every technological advance, you get a new version of ElfQuest coloring, and it fulfills all of those those wonderful like things in your brain to like see it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny because you know, I manage the ElfQuest social media channels and help with PR and things. And so I am usually the recipient of lots of comments and questions. So, it's funny, or it's interesting to me what people are sort of, picking up from what they're reading, and all the questions that people are asking. So I thought I might kind of address some of those sort of top questions that I have seen just in the last 24 hours. And so
please do.
you touched on, yeah, you touched on one, that is the color. So number one, even though every single time we've talked about these books for the last 8 months since they were announced as being coming out, we have said that they're in full color, because that is like the number one thing that people have been asking for the decade that I have been helping manage ElfQuest social media. And so we heard that loud and clear, right? So obviously, we wanted to, that was the next big thing to come out of the partnership with Dark Horse, is to produce a version of ElfQuest in color. But there's still a lot of people who haven't picked up on that yet. So I just want everybody out there to know that these are beautiful colors, gorgeous full color books. They're not black and white. And I do want to say too, like, there's nothing wrong with black and white. ElfQuest, the original quest, was originally published in black and white, and it is gorgeous. Wendy Peeney's,
the line work
is freaking gorgeous. She's a master at inks. She has beautiful, tight control over it, and it's always solid, yet it's also flowing and beautiful. It's really a thing of beauty. So I never want to sell short the beautiful black and white presentations like the complete ElfQuest, which was the omnibus editions that Dark Horse brought out. I don't know, probably about 10 years ago, is when those first started coming out. And so at any rate, the book is in full color. So that's question number one. And the second question related to the color is, people want to know, well, what version of the color, right? So there have been multiple versions of ElfQuest collected editions. Some of them have been in black and white, like the complete ElfQuest I was just mentioning. And some of them have been in color. So this will be the third color edition. So the first one, came out in the 80s, and Wendy hand painted it, but was never really satisfied with it. The quality of the paper that she got, and sort of the colors that she was able to use, just it didn't match her vision really for what she thought ElfQuest should look like. And the company didn't treat them very well, Wendy and Richard, and so there's a lot of history there. And then the second color, actually, wait, there have been 4 colored editions with this. This is the 4th one. The second one was done by Father Tree Press, which was part of WaRP Graphics. That was also back in the 80s and into the early 90s. And those were colored in a radically different style. So those were colored by Chelsea Animation Studios, to sort of mirror like what an animated cartoon of the time would look like. And it was a very different thing. It was much flatter. And more like saturated colors.
Yes, very blocky, but vibrant.
Yeah.
I used those when I read them to my twins, and it was great for them when they were kids, because they like kids like that kind of stuff. They want to
there's a reason they use it on cartoons, right?
Absolutely.
And then the next version were the DC editions, and those were the ones preceding this. And for those, Wendy completely recolored them herself. And so Wendy and Richard have always considered that this sort of coloring as really the definitive coloring for ElfQuest that most matched their vision for what it should look like. And so, but those have been long out of print as well. Again, they came out 20 years ago. And so this new version features those definitive colors by Wendy, but she did go through every page and make adjustments. And so I kind of think of it as sort of like the remastered version. So, I've been flipping through and just trying to see like, what are those differences? And, I don't think there's anything super blatant. The biggest thing is I feel like Wendy maybe toned down some of the colors, which I think printed maybe a little bit darker and maybe a little bit more saturated in the DC editions. And they're much smoother, I feel, in this new edition. And they kind of match, the rest of the series a little bit better. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because that's what a lot of people are asking about on social media. Like, is it in color? And they want to know, like, is it the original color? And original is subjective to whatever version people got, the first time that they read
whatever
it.
you saw first.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. But I'm curious if you have had a chance to like flip through and read and if anything jumped out at you.
I did. I feel like the blacks are a little bit richer, like some of the scenes at night and with
Uh-huh.
Mad Coil, but in a good way. Like you need good blacks in order to appreciate the colors. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't done a side by side comparison. I just picked it up this
I know
afternoon.
it's all you've only had it for a few
But
hours.
those are sort of the things that, like, jumped out at me, like, it looks really good. I like the size of it,
Oh
because
yeah.
I also feel like this size, which is, sort of comic book size, um, just kind of lends itself to being easier to read, easier to kind of flow through the panels, and it's a little bit more compact, so the art jumps out a little bit more, I think, because, I mean, the big
Yeah.
pages are great. I mean, I love those big books. I have all of them. You have them all. I love them. I think they're great. They hold a special place in my heart. But this is great for new readers, for new fans, because it's very accessible and you can
Yeah.
just jump right in immediately and you'll finish this in a night. I guarantee it.
Oh,
Once
for
you pick
sure.
it up,
Yeah. I
you're
mean,
not putting it down.
again, this is another frequently asked question we're seeing, and that is like, how big are they? Like, what's the size? And it's funny, somebody, I took a picture, sort of of me holding the book and just like a tight shot of the book and posted that today. And someone was like, either that's a really big hand or the book is smaller than I thought it was. So I think they were expecting one of the, sort of the bigger size volumes, but I completely agree with you. This sort of format is so much more readable. I mean, I've got a stack of some of the previous editions. Like, this is bigger, right? And so maybe the art's bigger on the page, but when I'm like sitting with it in my, when I'm laying in bed and like holding it up, that big book is a lot more difficult. Or, if you're traveling, if you're commuting, if you're stuffing this in your bag or whatever, the smaller size is better. But the biggest thing I want to say about it is this was all Dark Horse, right? Dark
Mhm.
Horse, kind of came up with the suggestion of the size and also the cover design, which I want to come back to. And so this is so much more modern and what you will find on the shelves in a modern bookstore and comic shop, right? And
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I'm really starting to appreciate that because I've been going out to all the comic shops and bookstores, kind of looking and just comparing. And I love it. I love that Dark Horse and their designers, who I think did a really fabulous job, really kind of gave this sort of like, I don't know what the right word is, not facelift or touch up or whatever. They just put like a modern packaging to ElfQuest,
Mhm.
which is 47 years old. And so, I love that. I really appreciate that Dark Horse is helping to do that, so that when a modern reader is walking down those shelves or scrolling through, buying the book online or whatever, like, this looks like it belongs in 2025, because it does,
It
even
does.
though it's decades old. So I want to give a shout out to Dark Horse. Their designer Skylar did this, and Skylar has a long last name that I wrote down because I didn't want to mispronounce it. As somebody who has a long mispronounceable name, and I lost it. It's somewhere here. I'll find. Oh, here it is. Skylar Weissenfla. If you're listening, you did
Ooh.
a kick-ass job. So
Yeah,
anyway,
you
I think
rock,
the covers are
Skylar.
beautiful.
Yeah, I
Um,
love the covers. I love the that it's printed right on the cover. It doesn't have the
yes.
jacket, which, I mean, all that stuff is nice, and I love old things. I am a Pisces. I'm an old soul. I don't listen to music like it's got to be 20 years old for me to start liking it. I'm like, you know what? That Neo, he's not bad. Like I am very into old things, but I also appreciate these like modern, like refreshable things. Like, it's just so great. This is easy. It's just easier to deal with. You have these jackets, the jacket gets lost, it gets dinged in the shipping, and
Yeah.
then you're mad that your, collectible has been, blemished
Yes.
already, like when you just got it. So, it still feels very luxe. It's shiny and
Oh,
it
yeah.
looks great, but it's just like the best of both worlds to have this like art deco styling, but
Yes.
all new.
Yeah,
It's just great.
I don't know if this is gonna read on the camera, but another thing I'm glad you just brought up. Can you see that, like, there's the red part is sort of matte,
Mhm.
and Cutter and Lita have a little bit of a gloss to them, but the design work in this sort of, it's really more of an Art Nouveau, I would say, sort of flower kind of design, Art Nouveau, Art Deco family, right? And so um, it's sort of this different texture and color.
Mhm.
And it's part of what gives it almost like a three-dimensionality and
Yes,
really makes it pop when it's sitting on the shelf.
it does. Makes you wanna dive right in and pick it up. And, Wendy wanted us to mention that they have included the Heart's Way story at the end
Yes. Yeah.
and the covers.
Yep.
The cover gallery, which I always loved having in the back of the other collected editions.
For sure, yeah, and yeah. What's interesting is, again, some there in every one of these new editions of ElfQuest that comes out, there's always something slightly different, and I appreciate that as, again, a diehard fan. Like, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna collect all of the different versions, and so it's kind of nice that it's not just sort of like a straight up reprint of the previous edition. Again, Wendy has remastered the colors, the covers are different, the introductory material is different. So Wendy and Richard have written the foreword and the afterword. So there's always good, sort of inside insight and just sort of creator's perspective in those things. And yeah, in the previous edition, the covers were used as sort of like chapter breaks in the DC Archives edition. And so
Mhm.
Dark Horse felt like they wanted to present the story without those sort of artificial breaks. So they pulled those covers into the gallery at the end so that the story kind of reads, straight through. And yes, they did include the Heart's Way in there, which was a story that was done later, but in that same era. A little story
Right,
about
it was
Cutter.
much later, wasn't it in one of the hidden years?
No, it was
Was it?
actually, so that story was done in the 90s for ElfQuest's 20th anniversary, which would have been, what, 1998.
Oh.
And it actually originally appeared in a European, I forget the publisher, but it was a European publication celebrating 20 years of ElfQuest, that then also got an American release. That might
Oh.
have been actually through WaRP Graphics. I have to go look at my ElfQuest history. I don't have that memorized in my brain. But at any rate, it was sort of this little side story about Cutter and Skywise's relationship, through the lens of how Skywise and Cutter and the Sun Villagers and Lita were all sort of like adapting to each other shortly after the conclusion of the book one story, the sort of the classic original quest book one. And so it's a really great story, and it really has some deep insight into the relationship between Cutter and Skywise. And so Carlson, that's right, Wendy. Thank
There you
you.
go.
That's what I was going to say, but I wasn't sure if I was going to say it right. So um, at any rate, yeah, it's sort of become part of the original quest now because it happens in that same time period.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, so good. Yes, so there's other great news because 3 more of these are coming out this year.
Yes, absolutely. And okay, so this is taking a step back just to kind of share with everybody sort of what that vision was like. It was like, well, we want to bring the original quest back, and so there are all of these conversations with Dark Horse and obviously, Wendy and Richard, right? Figuring out like what's the best way to do this. Do we want to do like one giant, brick of a volume and have it all in one book, right? Do we want to do soft cover and all of those kinds of questions? And so after careful consideration and looking at all the factors and, kind of thinking about what's going to be the most effective way to get ElfQuest back out into the world, the decision was made to sort of go back to the sort of the original idea all the way back in the 80s when Wendy and Richard, decided to get the comic series collected, and they did it in 4 volumes, 5 issues each, and they called them books 1 through 4. And so in the previous versions, the most recent versions, we lost that sort of book 1, book 2 kind of, naming convention. And so that has come back with these. And so every few months for 2025, a new book will be released. So book 1 is out, yesterday, and today was the debut in bookstores and comic shops. May 27th, book 2 comes out. August 18th is book 3, and November 18th is book 4. So by the end of this year, we'll all have this shiny, beautiful new version of ElfQuest, the original quest, books 1 through 4.
Yep. And hopefully just beyond that, but
beyond, yeah.
I won't be great. Well, I won't be greedy, but it all depends on how well these books sell and if they are, well received.
Yep, that's
because
100%.
I mean, this is a business, everybody. Unfortunately, that's the way these things go. I wish it could all go on just vibes and my personal vibes that I put out into the universe that everybody should read ElfQuest, but you guys got to pick it up in the stores and pre-order if you can, because that helps the sellers and the bookstores and the marketers know that there is a demand there. And if you want more ElfQuest, you got to support ElfQuest, basically.
Thank you for saying that, because I think sometimes we take it for granted that ElfQuest just happens, but Wendy and Richard put blood, sweat, and tears into this. Partners like Dark Horse, like obviously they're the ones who are publishing it and bringing it out. And I think everybody would love to see the next series, the Siege of Blue Mountain series, the Kings of the Broken Wheel series, get this same kind of treatment. And Wendy and Richard have teased that that is something that could happen. But you're absolutely right, Tanya. Like, decisions are still being made on all of that, right? And so everyone's looking at the performance of these new editions of the original quest, and I don't think that they're I think that they're going to do just fine, but people do have to go out and buy them. But I do have something kind of special to share, a little bit of exclusive breaking news that no one has heard yet, and I want to sort of break it here on Two Moons and a Microphone with you, if you're cool with it.
Absolutely. Bring it on.
So speaking of the success of these new books, we just got word from Dark Horse that book 1 is selling really well, so well in fact that they are already bringing it to a second printing.
Oh yes,
on the first day that it was released.
On the first day. Hello.
Yes. So that was a really fantastic bit of news to get at the end of yesterday. And I think Wendy and Richard will be okay if I share this. I was actually out in the evening. After I finished work, I went out on my quest to find the book, and I found it myself in a Barnes and Noble, and I happened to I found it, right, and I'm pulling it out, and of course, I have to take a selfie with the book in front of the big graphic novel sign. So I'm in the middle of doing that, and some guy rounds the corner, and I am the idiot, taking a selfie in the middle of the bookstore. But he asked me, "Oh, what is that?" And I ended up having like a 10-minute conversation with him in the aisle in the bookstore about how rad ElfQuest is and how he has to check it out. And so he was like, I'm totally going to go to the website and check it out more. So I got, score for me on that. But
well done.
That's kind of the side story. So the next thing that happens is I pop open my phone and I see an email from our editor at Dark Horse saying, good news, selling really well. We want to go into a second print run. And I knew that at that point in the day that Wendy and Richard were not sitting in front of their email. So I texted them just to say, hey, this just came in. We probably want to respond. And and so they, of course, were, I can only imagine being there. But when they did reach back out to me, they said that the shriek was heard through the whole restaurant when they read my text. So yeah, everyone's super thrilled about it. And I think that bodes well, let's just say, for what comes next. I mean, again, we won't know until we know. And there's 3 more volumes that have to come out and, sell really well too. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because even though a lot of us who are probably watching right now have, previous versions, we can add to our collection too. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we are. We're Uber fans and collectors, and, we love having all these different versions. And when we do that, it keeps the books out on the shelves for the new fans to discover. And that's really the ultimate goal here.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so well deserved, and I could not be happier for Wendy and Richard, because it just makes my heart so full to know that it's being received, because it is so worthy of all of the accolades that they get, and the influence and the effect that it has on people when they read it. I mean, it's just an ongoing legacy, and I love to see it actually recognized by, these outside forces, like, book sales and profits and all of those things. I mean, I'm not one of those kind of people, but I understand. As I said, I keep it real. I understand. I live in this real world. Times are tough. There's a lot of uncertainty, and nothing is guaranteed, but our joy is our resistance, and picking up a book that you love and sharing it with the people that you love, and getting these positive messages out there is our way of, thriving. And, it's what it means to be a human. So, or an elf.
Yeah. Or an elf, right? Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And look, if you want an immediate pick-me-up, just go on pretty much any social media platform and do a search on ElfQuest. And in particular, in these last couple weeks, with this new edition of book 1 coming out, and the big news last week that we broke about the endowment that Wendy and Richard have given to Columbia University to support the comics archive that's there, which includes the ElfQuest archive. But they made a huge, and I mean, the news is out. They made a $500,000 gift to Columbia University to support the work of preserving comics, important comics, and everything that goes along with that in perpetuity for people to learn from and study. And that gift is going to make sure that, the ElfQuest archive, is taken care of long after all of us who are here today are gone, but that other people can learn from it, and that people, are going to be able to see Wendy's artwork, for hopefully centuries, and study it and learn from it and everything. So anyway, going back to my original point is that just do a search on ElfQuest and read what people say. Everything you were just saying, Tanya, about what it means to, this is sort of the gift that this story is, that Wendy and Richard have given us, and that we all relate to, and that, I don't know, there's something magical about it, and people really get it. They really, it hits people right in the heart, and it sticks with them, right? I mean, I started reading ElfQuest in 1985, right? Like, I feel like you've been reading for decades as well, right?
Yes.
And I'm seeing that left and right now, even from people that haven't kept up with ElfQuest, just saying like, wow, this totally changed my life. And it's always good stuff. It's always positive. It's always supportive. It's always this feeling of family in the good sense of family, right? Because not all families can be, are great, right? But like, I get a high every single day because I get to sort of read through these comments. And yeah, every once in a while there's a troll in there, and not the good kind. But, for the most part, it's really just this outpouring of love and goodwill and supporting each other, which really is what ElfQuest is all about. And it's so nice to see that on social media because that's a rare thing.
It is. And also the way the other fans kind of support each other as well. I mean, it just the lessons that we learn from reading ElfQuest, it's being put into practice within the fandom. And I think that that's something that always like brightens my day. I mean, I get in that Facebook group and I'm like, oh gosh, you guys, you're so fun. Like, I mean, everybody's just so positive and supportive, and everybody feels seen or they feel represented in some way in the story. And I mean, that's what kind of keeps people going. And I just love it. I think it's great. And I mean, the Columbia Endowment, which I did want to talk about because I was a fundraiser for about 15 years. And, you know, I have my feelings about philanthropy, but I mean, that is just, I don't think people understand what a major gift this is.
It is.
For Wendy and Richard to make to this institution. Endowments mean that, like, you know, that money is going to be there for like years and years to come. And it's going to not only support their comic, but other comics as well. So it's just such an amazing thing for Wendy and Richard to do. It's a testament to their success also, because there are a lot of artists that, like they were saying, that had to sell their work in order to help support themselves. And for them to be able to achieve that level, to make that kind of contribution to the world of comics it's phenomenal. I mean, they are unique in that sense as well. I think they own their own work, and now they're also able to preserve it for generations to come. I mean, it's an amazing legacy. For it.
It really is. And I feel like Richard really needs to get a little bit of the spotlight in all of these fronts, because, you know, I feel like it's Richard who has sort of, you know, managed that aspect of all of this, right? Like making sure that ElfQuest was positioned in the right way at every step of the game, and making sure that, you know, he did everything that he needed to do from a legal perspective. You know, I mean, if you're an ElfQuest fan, you know that there have been, you know, sort of ups and downs, and, you know, with just sort of ElfQuest and some, you know, partners that were, you know, trying to do shady things and whatever. And so I feel like the whole idea of being able to make that gift, I think, is a testament to Richard's shepherding of ElfQuest over the decades. And so, yeah, Wendy says Richard engineered the donation. And so, yeah, I mean, he did it specifically, but I'm even talking in the meta, you know, over the decades, like just helping
preserving the work and scanning it. And I mean, that he saw the value. I mean, it's just like, God, I get overwhelmed by just the positivity and the awesomeness of these people. But in the line of beauty, he said, and you've said that was like his love letter to Wendy. And when he talks about how, you know, all of her like young artwork was just sort of thrown in some garage somewhere, and, you know, that he just saw, this is valuable. This is something that you have to, you know, keep. It should be treasured. It's not trash or frivolous stuff. And for him to like be the first to kind of put that value on it, and to continue this preservation and being this facilitator, as he says, of this thing that they've created together, it just blows me away. It's just so great. I mean, and just like the day-to-day work of preserving and protecting and holding on to it. I'm sure that there were times where, you know, it was tempting to just kind of give it away, or they're like these other artists that, you know, they created these characters or they drew these characters for years, but they don't own it themselves. Like it's not theirs, and they're still hustling. And I'm sure Wendy and Richard are hustling too. I know that they are.
Oh,
But
trust me, they are. But I think your
to
point
have that value, to know that this is something special that I have to protect and keep and preserve.
Well, I think
just amazing.
The Forbes article that came out last week announcing this endowment had a line, they quoted Richard there. And I think that his quote really says it all. And it's something along the lines of, I just wanted her artwork to live forever. And it was like, oh my God, you guys touching. Are so freaking amazing and cute. And I just want to hug, because it's the sweetest thing ever. And we all benefit and the world benefits. And it's really like, just the love is palpable. And we all feel that coming through the story, and it inspires us. I think a lot of us say ElfQuest helped raise us. It's because we felt that love coming through it. And it made us feel seen and belong, and like that we belonged, and inspired us to be good people out in the world. And so, yeah, it's a whole bunch of like really good stuff in a time in the world where we could use that. And, this is something else that I'm really happy about in terms of ElfQuest getting this new edition from Dark Horse. It's that I think like ElfQuest is more relevant now than it ever has been, with all of the social strife that we're experiencing in the world and in this country, and the horrible things that people are doing, the real awful toxicity in fantasy fandom, right?
Yes.
That I feel like it's just been in the last, I don't know, decade or so. And a lot of it has to do with social media. And like, I feel like the world needs ElfQuest more than ever. And so, the fact that it's out there again on the shelves for people to discover actually fills me with a lot of hope.
Yes. And we need to hold on to that hope, because, it is challenging sometimes to remain hopeful, but
very much so. Yeah. So can we talk about this?
Yes, absolutely.
I am so excited for this, you guys. This is, the diehard ElfQuest fans will know what this is. But in case anybody isn't a diehard ElfQuest fan, this is the gorgeous painting that Wendy Pini did for the very first color collected edition of ElfQuest that came out in 1981. And it's kind of a rare piece, right? It came out on that book cover. And, Tanya, you were talking about, other creators having to, sell original art. Wendy and Richard did at certain, points over the last several decades, did have sell off some of their art. I don't want to say sell off. It was done in kind of like an auction scenario. It was all under their control and that kind of thing. And it was, a decision that they made. But anyway, that piece of art, the original art was sold. Richard, of course, had a scan of it or a reproduction of it so that we could, see it and enjoy it today. But the original art recently showed up at auction again. And it was kind of devastating because
it was all faded and sad.
Yeah, it was not properly cared for, and it was just completely bleached out. Like all the reds were gone. Lita was just sort of super ghostly, like, you couldn't almost not even see her dress and her clothes. And, I know that was a little bit of a stab in Wendy's heart, right? I mean, she created this beautiful thing, and that had to hurt to see that. And it sort of added insult to injury too, because, Wendy has shared that the original publisher of those first few editions did not treat the artwork well either. In fact, they literally bent it in half and gave it back.
And they just mailed it back to them, like fold with a big fold.
Yeah. I don't think they mailed it back. I think Wendy and Richard had to go to the offices to get it, and they handed it to her on Bristol board, which is not pliable, right? It's almost like super, super hard cardboard in times 10. So somebody had to literally snap it over their knee.
Oh my gosh.
They made a really denigrating comment that, well, it's not like it's a Da Vinci or a Picasso or something like that. I mean, imagine the absolute I won't say the word I'm thinking of, but it's not it's not a word to use in
nice word.
company, right? So anyway, all of that bad stuff happened with this piece of art, and so yet it's something that, again, old school ElfQuest fans know and love, because many of us, that was the first version of ElfQuest that we read. And so the idea of doing this print was Richard's. And what Richard said was, what if we did a special print that we could offer that could come along with these new editions of the original quests that are coming out, as just something a little bit extra, a little bit special, in particular for, the old school fans out there who, again, maybe have, previous editions of this. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. Wearing my marketing hat, I was like, this is a great idea. People are going to get excited about it. It adds a little bit of an extra buzz that we could talk about. And so Richard and I were kind of brainstorming, and I suggested, what if we did the cover of the very first edition to sort of be like, here's where we were, here's where we are, right? And so here we are. So it looks beautiful. It looks even better than it looked on the cover of the book. It's so much richer.
It really does. It looks great. I can't wait to get mine.
Well, this is what I wanted to talk about, because
please talk about the giveaway.
Yeah. So this is a giveaway, right? And so in any giveaway, there's sort of like rules and parameters, and there's a few different ways you can get it. So I just wanted to quickly walk through them, because I think there's a little bit of confusion out there. So
yes,
here's how it works. If you get any of the new original quest books, book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, in print or digital, digital counts, Wendy and Richard will give you this print, and they've autographed it. So it's like an autographed print, and it's big too. I think it's 11 by 14. So how do you get it? Okay, so number one, you can buy the books directly from our partner Stands. They're the folks who are doing the really awesome ElfQuest challenge coins, and those beautiful metal bookmarks, and the special edition T-shirts, all of those things. They are also the folks who are hosting the momentous events, the first of which we had a few weeks ago that we're going to be doing more of. We'll talk about those in a second. But if you buy the book directly from Stands, we've worked with them, and they are going to, for everybody that buys one of these books from them, automatically include the print, no extra charge or anything like that. And so that's the easiest way to get the print. Just buy the book from Stands, and you can buy it via Stands when you register for one of these momentous events that are upcoming. And they're timed. There's going to be 3 more this year, timed to the release of books 2, 3, and 4. And real quick, these are really special events. They're sort of masterclass events with Wendy and Richard, where they can kind of share their deep wisdom and experience of telling fantasy stories. And so these are going to happen, again, timed to the release of these books. So it's kind of perfect. You can register for the event, which is $15, and you can bundle the book and the print. They're also doing meet and greets and that kind of thing. So that's the easiest way to get the print. The other way that you can get the print is go to one of Wendy and Richard's live convention appearances where they're doing a signing. If you go to elfquest.com/calendar, all of those appearances are listed. And so, you can go, and they'll have a stack of these. All you have to do is show up and show them, one of these books, and you can get the print. If anybody out there can't, for whatever reason, get a book from Stands, buy it via the momentous events, or get to one of Wendy and Richard's in-person events, Richard has very graciously opened up his emails, so you can email him with a picture of you holding your book, and it could be a digital, or just something. You don't even have to show your face, but just a little bit of proof that you bought the thing, right? If you email that to Richard, I believe it's info@elfquest.com, and I'll double check that before we go, just to make sure that I get that right. But
also, if you do sign up for the newsletter, and you can
sign up for the newsletter, because we emailed this info out to everybody that's on the mailing list, along with all sorts of great exclusive stuff. So, but yeah, I'm checking it now. I'm confirming that it is info@elfquest.com, and you can, send that over to Richard, and he will autograph, or he and Wendy will autograph the print, and he'll drop it in the mail. And so everybody, no matter where you buy the book, can get one of these prints. And, for each book that is sold, you will get a print. So if you buy all 4, and for some reason you want 4 of these prints, we'll honor that. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's
I mean, we hope folks
incredible.
aren't greedy and that they're not going to sort of take advantage of it and just sell it for $1 on eBay. But
Please
we want to
don't
be
do
fair.
that. Come on, you ruin it for everybody.
Right. But we bought a book. That's the whole idea here. It's a little bit of an extra thank you to the hardcore fans who are going out there and buying all of these versions of ElfQuest and helping keep ElfQuest out there in the world so that new people can discover it. But
I mean, it's so great. It's so generous.
it's so
I mean,
beautiful. It's so
and it's
beautiful.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's amazing because having a piece of ElfQuest art, it really does. I mean, you have your art behind you.
I know. I'm
It
spoiled because I have an original
you have
Wendy
an
Pini
original one.
right behind there that she did for me. But
But I mean, I have prints and I have them up on my walls all over my house,
yeah,
and it just makes me happy whenever I look at it. And
yeah. And
so
I
this
will
is an
say
amazing
too,
gift.
yeah, don't let what happened to the original art happen to your print. Store it in a archival plastic sleeve. That's what I do. Or if you're going to frame it, make sure you get, sort of archival glass and acid-free paper and all of that, because these really are works of art, even if they're prints, right? And so
Mhm.
you want to take care of it.
Absolutely. Folks in the chat are asking when the stands orders are shipping. I thought they said they were shipping them on March
Yeah,
4th.
they're probably shipping them right now. I mean, they couldn't ship them until starting yesterday, so nobody could. Although some people out there were reporting that they were getting the books early. So,
Yes,
there
I
are
was very
some.
jealous.
I know, yeah, and whatever, like it happens. But yeah, Stans is on it. They're going to be sending the books out. I'm sure they're probably, like I said, already starting. So, and they'll just be patient and you'll get yours. I know it's hard to do because that is the one downside, I guess, of maybe mail ordering it, because you might have to wait an extra few days from actually walking into the store and buying it. But on the flip side, it's hit or miss whether or not bookstores or comic shops carry any given title. I did have to go to a couple bookstores yesterday. I first went to my super local bookstore, but they're tiny.
Mhm.
They do have a graphic novel section, and it's got about 15 titles. So I really wasn't expecting them to have ElfQuest. I did find it at a Barnes and Noble, and it was a big one, and it had a huge graphic novel section. But Tanya, you and I this week were messaging and saying, like, I
Yeah.
hope I get a copy of the book before we do this podcast. So it was hit or miss because we didn't mail order it. We were, trying to find it in an actual physical store. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So we appreciate everyone's patience while you're anxiously chewing your nails waiting to get your book if you mail ordered it, but it'll be there soon.
Yeah, I mean, the FOMO is real. I try to pre-order through I have a great local comic book store, Third Eye Comics. They are huge. They have an amazing selection. They do ship all over, so you can look them up online if you want to check them out. They have a great catalog, and so I did pre-order it back in like January maybe, and but there are delays sometimes, so I just like
Yeah.
emailed them quickly yesterday, like, is it going to be there tomorrow? Because they are sticklers. I mean, like you were saying, some people were getting it early, but they're sticklers. Like if new comic book day is Wednesday, they are not
Yes.
going to give it to you, even if it's there, because
Right.
I picked up another book when I was there for something else. And they were like, oh, you should really get this issue of this because there's a tie-in, so I could pay for it, but I couldn't take it home with me until the next day. Like, I think it was
Yeah.
Monday or Tuesday. And they were like, well, we'll put it in your pull box and you can get it when you pick it up. So they follow the
Yeah.
rules, which,
And
I gotta
that's how
respect.
Stans is doing it as well. And I appreciate that, like they don't want to burn bridges with publishers or break the rules. They do have the books. They've had them for a little while in their warehouse. So it's not like, they're delayed on that front. So they couldn't start sending them until literally yesterday and today. So again, just be patient. They'll get to you soon.
Yes, I see you there. Finish Angel cosplay. I think that's Isaac. So hello, thank you for joining and coming in. And aren't all of there are proceeds from all of the sales at stands that go to the Wolf Conservancy, Wolf Park?
Yeah, so there's 2 wolf organizations that do receive a donation as a result of any ElfQuest items that you get from stands. So that includes the challenge coins, the challenge coin holder, any apparel that stands offers. It includes the bookmarks. It includes the books, and it includes all the momentous events. So stands is basically, they're a retailer, but they have everything that they sell has a component of charity to it. And so each brand that they work with gets to pick the charity. And so for ElfQuest, it's Wolf Park in Indiana, which Wendy and Richard have been longtime supporters of. They're sort of a wolf education facility, and they have ambassador wolves that live there that people go visit, and they can learn about wolf behavior and that kind of thing. And then there's an organization called the Wolf Conservation Center in New York, in upstate New York, and they do similar work, and they're also active, involved in advocacy for wolf protection and making sure that wolves aren't demonized and slaughtered and all of those kinds of things. So every time you buy an ElfQuest product from stands, a donation gets made to those two wolf conservation and education organizations in the name of ElfQuest. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's so great. And it's a really great product. The coins are beautiful. They feel great in your hands. They have some very good substance to them. And I held out for a long time, but eventually I bought all of Series 1 and then I subscribed. I did. I have to get my display case. I have them all. I subscribed for Series 2. I'm all in. Like,
yeah.
I don't know who I'm kidding. I'm like, I'm like, oh no, you have so much. You gotta,
I know, and I'm sure I am not helping when I'm whispering, do it.
Absolutely not. You are not helpful at all. But you can talk to my husband. I mean, he's like, are you getting another thing? Like, I mean, we drove to the comic book store today. I'm like, well, we can go out to dinner, but I have to stop by Third Eye first. So.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah. It's not even a question in my house. Like, I get all of the ElfQuest things, and but the coins are so freaking cool. I didn't even know what a challenge coin was until we hooked up with stands, and they're like, hey, what if we do challenge coins? And now I know it's like a whole thing. It started with the military, and it's this great sort of like, I don't know, like fandom, community, sort of extended family kind of thing where, if somebody from your group, if you meet them out, you can challenge them and say, hey, do you have your coin? And if they don't, then they have to do something like, buy a round of drinks or whatever. And so the challenge coins that stands are doing are, like you said, they're heavy, they're solid, they're beautiful. I want to give a shout out to Riley Santangelo. She is the designer that we work with at stands, who is taking Wendy's art and Richard's direction. Richard is the one that's coming up with the scenes and the words that actually go on the coins. So it's really, very sweet. And Riley is just doing a killer bang up job on making these coins. They're just the coolest, neatest things ever. And they look great on display. And I'm going to make everybody jealous, but I've seen the next coin, and I think I can't tell you what it is, but I'm just going to say it is definitely going to be a fan favorite, and I'll just leave it at that. That's coin 4 for April. So
okay.
Yeah,
we'll be on the lookout.
Oh wait, no.
3 is coming. They're going to be shipping that soon. 3
right.
With
exactly.
With the
I think they start shipping the coins, I want to say, on the 6th of the month. So tomorrow.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah. I mean,
the coin 4 will be next month, and again, it will be a favorite among fans, and I'll let that be my clue.
Okay. Well, I mean, the anticipation is building, and there's just so many great things coming out, and I am so excited for us, for the fans, for the new fans, for everybody.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's like anything else. We talked about the print, we talked about the endowment, and
there's
everybody should
one more
check out.
thing, Tanya, that I forgot to mention about the new edition of book one. So, there's new covers, there's sort of remastered artwork or coloring by Wendy. The formatting's a little bit different. There's also extras in the back of these books, like there are usually. And book one did not have a lot of real estate for extras, but Richard picked something that I think packs a powerful punch that I have never seen before. I don't think it's been shared anywhere before. So I'm not going to tell people what it is. You have to get the book and look at it to see what the extra, the sort of the behind the scenes is for this one. But I can say that for the next books, there will be more space for even more of that really awesome behind the scenes, sometimes never before seen sort of gallery, feature. So at least for book two, and I would assume for books 3 and 4, there'll be several pages worth of those. So more good stuff to anticipate.
Oh, awesome. Oh, yeah. Someone mentioned in the chat the pins that are coming out from.
Oh, yeah. The pins. Yeah. So the pins are fun.
Arcane
Those are from Lasermock,
Mhm.
which is another longtime ElfQuest licensing partner. All the way back in the 90s, they did that cutter laser cut statue. And so, yeah, we've been working with them to come up with a set of pins because, again, fans have been clamoring for pins, and they are very clever. I have to give them props. When they decided to announce the pins, they didn't tell us what the characters were going to be. They just showed them in silhouette. Now, I,
Mhm.
of course, know because I helped them pick the characters and find the art and all of that good stuff. But the way you all reacted was like everything, just seeing everybody get really excited about it and asking questions. And I did give them props to say that was kind of a brilliant move on your part to do that. So yeah, those are out. So the first coin or the first pin, which was announced in the Howl newsletter. So again, if you're not on the ElfQuest mailing list, go to elfquest.com and click join the quest up at the top, and you can sign up and get on the mailing list. But we're going to be announcing, each new character once a month as these coins release. You can buy them individually, but you can also buy the entire set, which I believe is at a discount.
Yes.
And, so, you can buy them sight unseen, all
Way
as
to go,
one big
David.
set.
I
And
wanted to
yeah,
see
there you
which
go.
one
David
I want.
bought the whole thing. Yeah.
It's a
So,
little tempting.
yeah, it's more fun ways that we can express our love of ElfQuest. And again, putting on my marketer's hat, it's not a bad thing to have people walking around with a little billboard for ElfQuest in the form of t-shirts and pins and whatever other, swag you can put on your body out there in the world, because, people do see it and they do ask questions. I always am wearing my ElfQuest t-shirt or sweatshirt or, out and about, and people they ask questions. So, we're all sort of ambassadors for the way, if you will.
Yes. I would like another hat or visor because I have my, curly
Oh
poof. So
yeah.
just,
Yeah,
or I
that's a good
might just
one.
get a plain black and have the pins on it, or.
Ooh. Well,
Mm.
our good friends at Stans are probably listening, and they have really genius ideas on merchandising. So who knows? Maybe down the line we'll see a hat or maybe even a visor just for you.
Something. I would love that, first of all. Stans has a lot of great stuff for all the other nerdy fandoms out there. Just like when you click through their website, they have just so many like cool
They
things. They
really
have
do.
all kinds of swords and stuff. We need a new moon.
Oh yeah, I have been fantasizing about an ElfQuest like sword line, obviously faux, since I was about 10. So
I bet. Yeah.
I don't know if there's anybody out there that does replica, mass-produced replica fantasy swords that we could team up with. But if you're out there listening, get in touch because I would love to see that. Full suits of armor, yeah.
Absolutely. I do have a friend who does that kind of like metal work, and there's a club, I don't remember the name, but it's all over the like, the country, where they just remake things like armor and stuff, and he is an ElfQuest fan, and he would like sent me a message like, "Hey, like what can we do? Like what are we going to make?" And I was like,
Hook us up.
"I don't know. Like there's so many ideas. I have no idea." But the wolf armor helmet,
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
insane.
Speaking of merch and apparel, you got a t-shirt for
I
2 Moons
do.
and a Microphone.
I do. I have
How do we get
merch.
that? I need one of those.
Please go to SyFy Sistas.com, and there is a link for where you can pick up our merch. And I think there
Brilliant.
might be also in the description box below here
Awesome.
on this
I'm
YouTube
totally This is
description.
my reminder to get one.
Please, thank you so much. Yeah. I
Yeah.
got my son, he bought one for himself as a Christmas gift to me, which I think is hilarious. My kids.
Oh,
He's like,
love
"Here
them.
you go, mom." Like, thanks. Thank you. It's great. So we have fun stuff. Um, this has been such a great conversation. I don't want to keep you all night. We could always talk forever about
Yes.
our love of ElfQuest ever since we met. This has been our thing, and I'm so glad that
Yeah.
I
Well,
met
I'm thrilled
you.
to be back, and I love that you're doing this podcast. I was telling you this off camera, but it's so amazing that there's ElfQuest fans who are so talented and creative and want to spread their love of this great story that we all love and get it out there into the world. It really makes this kind of, I don't know, it has a life of its own, right? And it's growing and it's positive. And you doing this podcast and the whole SyFy Sistas team, like you guys are awesome. So I just want to give a big shout out and a big heart to all of you.
Thank you, SyFy Sistas Inc. We are just so happy to be working with you guys, and I'm very grateful to the SyFy Sisters for offering me this show on their channel and to bringing me into the family. You guys are the best. I love you so much. Thank you so much, David. Thank you to Wendy, who is in the chat and has been contributing for this whole time. Your support is amazing. Also, check out Mask of the Red Death on YouTube. It's a new YouTube channel, and it is a Wendy's interpretation of Edgar Allan Poe's Mask of the Red Death. It's a musical animatic, which you can watch on Amazon Prime. You can also buy a Blu-ray on Amazon as well. And they're like doing like each little shorter videos on the YouTube channel now, which is very exciting. So
it's a juicy, dark delight, is how I like to describe it.
And
with
it
some
is
gore.
visually stunning, and the songs are legit. They are catchy, and it's great. It's awesome. So check that out as well. Thank you to everyone and for joining us today. And if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe to SyFy Sistas Inc. Like this video, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our fun. And also, if you are interested in reaching out and if you want to get your brand in front of our loyal, excited, enthusiastic team, there is a link in the description box, and you could also go to SyFySisters.com/sponsors to figure out how we could work together. Our audience and our fandoms are into sci-fi, fantasy, STEAM, innovation, and they support brands that are aligning with all of those values. So thank you so much. Please check that out. David, thank you again for coming. You guys, everybody, please tune in next Tuesday for the live show. They are doing their recap of the Star Trek cruise, which is always fun. I haven't been on the cruise, but I've seen some of their videos and their posts, and their recaps are hilarious because it is 7 days of Star Trek fandom at sea, and it's amazing. So tune in for that next week, March 11th at 9:30 here on SyFy Sistas Inc. on YouTube. And until then, shade and sweet water, everyone.